Welcome to Attitude of Altitude podcast presented by Planet of One. This podcast is designed to inspire change in people to become the best versions of themselves and live their best lives. We share stories of struggle and success to encourage and empower listeners to be bold, take action, and be the change we desire to see in this world. We are all part of this planet. We are all a planet of one. Know that your attitude determines your altitude in life. Welcome to the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Attitude of Altitude. I have a little bit of a treat for you and for me today. We have with us award-winning singer-songwriter, music educator, and actress, Randi Driscoll. Her music is a blend of piano playing originally with pop music, country, and jazz. Some of her music has been featured in films, television, and a commercial that was directed by Spike Lee, where she also got to appear in. Some of her performances, and I say some because her list is so long, I'm going to cut it down to what I can include in here. Her performances are at the Lincoln Center, the Place des Arts in Montreal, I'm sure I butchered the name, and Japan Center of the Arts, Ford Theater, plus many, many more. And you guys, all I'm going to say is she is definitely a heart-centered and soul-centered artist. Please help me welcome Randi Driscoll. Hi, Randi. How are you?
Hi. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm well. Thank you.
I've been looking forward to our chat for quite a while.
This is so great. This is wonderful.
I wanted people to actually get to know Randi and your music and who you are. So take us a little bit of your history and how you became an artist and your upbringing so people get to know you.
Sure. Well, first, this is so great, and I appreciate you inviting me on. This is wonderful. I started singing at a really young age. My mother and my father were both musical, not professionally, but my dad had a wonderful singing voice. My mom played piano, so I was constantly around the, at home piano singing. And my dad was also, at one time, he sang in the USO. So he everyone knew him around town. So when I was a really little girl, they would see him walk into, a restaurant or a bar or a lounge, and they would say, "Come on, get up on stage, get up on stage." And so my dad would get up on stage, and at about 3 years old, he would pull me up on stage with him. And I think I really liked it. I just liked all of the applause and the people and everyone getting up to dance and having fun. And I remember at a very young age feeling that was just such a beautiful way to share with other people. And so I was really blessed between that and church and musical theater through school. I did music my whole life, started writing songs at about 9, and then came out from New Jersey, where I grew up, to California, pursued education in music and theater, and then started singing in bands, and that was it. I just hit the road running, and I thought, this is for me, gigs, traveling, touring, creating music, all of it. It was just never look back. It's really funny. I tell people that I think I knew probably as young as like maybe 5 that this is what I wanted to do. But I feel like it's because it was part of my heart song talking to me also. It was just like a part of me. So I feel very blessed that when it comes to waitressing and hostessing jobs, which I have done, I have only done a few here and there, and the rest of my life has been being a professional musician.
That's incredible for someone at a young age to continue in same career, basically, in what they began. Mm-hmm. How has your music, as you started writing at such a young age, how has it evolved in what you write?
My gosh, it's just the common thread. So I'll answer that strangely. The common thread is that it's always fairly personal. And I always write through, as a songwriter, I write through my own lens, and so there are, even when I look back over what's now like decades of music, I look back and there's always themes of love that prevail and coming together, social justice. Those are always in there. But I will say that my music has sort of moved with me through my journey in life, So, I mean, I have CDs full of songs about relationships that didn't work out, and ones that did for like a minute, but then they didn't. Then, you know, as I've traveled to different parts of the country, I've lived in New York, I've lived in San Francisco, I've lived in California, I'm now in Nashville. You know, I sort of write about my travels, I write about my life experiences, I write about other people's life experiences. And then, you know, several years ago, I had a little girl. And I think my music hasn't necessarily changed, but I also add that layer of knowing that now I'm sort of seeing my songs through her lens as well, you know? So it's definitely, but I think that rather than keeping a journal, I could just go back and look at all of my music, and that would sort of be the history of my life.
Oh, that's incredible. What do you think affects you the most when you're writing music? What brings out those type of feelings for you to write about everyday life, in a sense?
That's a great question. It's a really good question. I have to think about that for a second. Sometimes it's something that happens, you know, it's an immediate reaction to something that might inspire me to write. But a lot of times it's my own sort of self-care and self-therapy that I write for, meaning that if something is deeply hurting me, I'll usually go to my keyboard, which is my, you know, it's my therapy, it's my outlet. If I'm joyful about something, I immediately want to write about it. If I'm hurting for another person, which also happens a lot. Maybe I don't know how to process that, so I write a song for them or with them in mind. I don't know. I mean, hopefully that answers the question, but I think that's kind of what inspires me to write, or what motivates me to write.
And as you're writing and bringing the music out, do you normally write with the intention that it's going to create an impact? Is that what your intention is when you're writing? What's coming out of you? I
can say truthfully, as I am here with you in this moment, that in those times when I'm writing, I think my goal is to be, as a songwriter, as organic as I can. And so now I'm aware from many, many years of doing this, that and from being a lover of music myself, right? I'm certainly aware that music is a powerful language, and that it can really open up hearts and minds and inspire people. But I don't know that that's necessarily my intention when I write. I think my intention when I write is to address whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm going through, as honestly as I can. And I try, you know, sometimes things will sort of pass and I'll be like, okay, that's pretty close to what I'm feeling. Sometimes I will really stick on it and say, no, I have to get this exactly right. This has to be exactly what I'm feeling. Every once in a while, if I'm commissioned to write something for, you know, something topical, or, you know, information that needs to be passed on, then I will have an intention to write about something. But my goal as a songwriter is just to make it something that I stand behind, and that I feel like I did my best to sort of translate whatever I was feeling musically. And, you know.
What are some of the challenging things that you've grown through as an individual, as an artist, that have reshaped you, who you are?
So you mean personal things? Well, certainly,
things that affect us.
Right. Loss, you know, that's been a common thread through my music, not just loss of love or loss of relationship or friendship, but personal loss, death, you know, people passing on. I feel like that's something that as a writer, we try to process in our own way. And sometimes it's easier for me to say what I really need to say in verse, you know, that usually ends up being in song. Moving, you know, tumultuous times in my career, you know, being a young artist. I mean, really when I was like 18 or 19 and coming up against all of the things that you can imagine as a young female, you're trying to navigate, right, through the music industry world, which is not always so pretty for anyone, really. It can have some, you know, just like with any industry, I think it can have some darkness. So trying to navigate how to move through with integrity, but also wanting to be a pleaser. All of these things sort of growing up. And it's funny, I wrote a song recently. I'm hoping when this is all over, God willing, we are able to release the CD that I recorded it for. But it's a song called Take Your Time. and it's a letter to my younger self, and it talks about all of the things that I'd like to go back and tell like 19, 20-year-old me. You know, just things to not fret about, stand your ground, be strong, don't worry about this so much, you know, maybe don't go down that path. You know, of course, that's the way we look back, but all of those journeys have been things that have like affected my music and my songwriting, and I turn it all to song, I guess.
Awesome.
I don't know.
That's
Hopefully.
awesome.
And you know, the funny thing is sometimes other people relate, right? So they'll be like, me too. I went, and then you go, okay. So, but I think I would have to get it out of me anyway. So.
You just said something very incredibly true for a lot of young women and sometimes even young men as they're growing through and wanting to get somewhere. Some of the challenges that come up and being able to maneuver around them with integrity and still getting to do what they want to do.
Yes.
Knowing how to work through that. Did you have support as you're growing up to go through some of these?
I did, and I had some musical mentors at a young age that really sort of took me under their wing, but that didn't stop me from also running into situations that made me uncomfortable or things that were, I'm very lucky. I want to make that very clear too, especially with the world that we're moving in right now, where so many women are coming forward, especially with some, you know, horrible things that have happened. I was very lucky. I was very protected at a young age, but there were definitely moments where people either wanted to question my things that were fundamentally important to me. They wanted to question that, or they wanted to sort of put me in a box and say, no, I think you should be over here. And because they were maybe older or in a position of power, I thought I should listen to them. And so to me, that's something that, even though I was lucky that I didn't have the situation that some people had, I still felt myself, you know, trying to say, nope. This is, you know, this is what I really hope for. Luckily, though, I had some beautiful people, men and women, that sort of looked after me and really believed in my music, and also encouraged me to sort of live organically, musically, as I could, you know, write about what I wanted to write about, sing about what I wanted to sing about. And in the end, that way I could sort of make peace with, you know, whatever happened with my career.
That's awesome. You have a lot of beautiful music, and I had the chance to listen to some of it very recently.
Thank you.
That definitely touched my heart. Is there a song that you've written that still stands out for you more than others? Or is there one that's a favorite?
There are several. There are several that I think will, you know, always sort of stay with me. One of them, of course, is a song I wrote after Matthew Shepard was killed in a hate crime. It was a reaction to his death, and it was a song not about his death, but about his family and about their unconditional love. It wound up being a single for this anti-hate crime charity, the Matthew Shepard Foundation, that talked about you know, being inclusive and being welcoming. And that song, the reason that it sticks with me is because my journey then with Judy and Dennis Shepard, and watching all of the work that they've done, you know, to stop bullying and stop hate and hate crime legislation, all of the things that they've done. The song has been, you know, sort of like on this journey with them. I've traveled to different events with them. I've done different Pride festivals, and I've gotten to see the power of good, and how many more wonderful people there are in this world, and how even though these moments of hate affect us and the ripples are far and wide, beautiful things can come out of that and change can happen. So to me, the song is just one woman's reaction, right, to something. It's just one small little piece that I wrote, but the beauty I've been able to witness because of that song, you know. And there's something about, it's been recorded by several choirs, and that's when, you know, we were talking in the beginning of this about knowing the impact of music. So hearing voices sing back these words of love, you feel this vibration, you know, and you really do believe that love will heal. You know, if we can just get there. And those have been moments that I can't possibly, you know, trade. So that song is one that's, you know, incredibly special to me, and that family is very special to me, and their work is very special to me. So that would be.
What other ones brought up to mind when I said that?
Well, so recently, a few songs. I have a new one that I wrote for my daughter, or with my daughter in mind. It's very new. It's probably maybe even just a year old, and it's called "Famous in Her Eyes," and it was a reaction to me. Maybe you've heard me do that one. I'm not sure, but it's a song about me watching my daughter sort of, enjoying my music and just sort of like having fun, listening to it and putting in my CDs and thinking, oh, my mom is singing and I know her music. And the idea that as a independent songwriter that, we're constantly making music, putting it out there. I thought, everyone wonders, well, wouldn't you like to be more famous, or what does fame mean to you, or what is fame, and I just thought in that moment where my little girl was singing to my CD and dancing around with one of her friends saying, "This is my mom," I thought, that's famous in her eyes. That's beautiful to me. And that's what really I think is important, is that knowing that no matter what we do in this world, we all have a light to shine. I truly believe this. And so that there's always someone who needs that light that we're shining, right? So you can say like, well, wouldn't it be great if you did this, or wouldn't it be awesome if you did that? But who knows that there could be one person out there listening to something you say or something you do or something you create, and you mean so much to them. So that's one that's really special. And then the other one that's really, really close to my heart, it could be maybe my favorite song that I've ever written on a very deeply personal level, is a song called "Happy Hour in Heaven." It's a song I wrote for my parents when my a very little family, very small family, and when my last part of my little crew passed away, my mom, she joined my dad and my grandmother, and I decided that, for as sad as I was to sort of say goodbye to my little team, I really believed that she was in heaven, sort of at this dive bar, because this is what she would have wanted. Not everybody, but this is what she would have wanted. Listening to music on a jukebox, dancing with my father, and having a whiskey. And I just thought, so I wrote a song about that. And I think the reason I love it so much is because it makes me feel better to sing it. So it's personally a way to really, connect with the fact that I feel like when you've passed on to another plane, there is joyful dancing. The choir, I write in the chorus that the band is playing 24/7. There's always a seat. You never have to stand in line. And so I love that idea. And what's been really a blessing for me is singing it all over the country now and having people say, I think my family might be at that same place. I think my family's there dancing too. So for me, that's just a personal one. So those are some of my favorites.
Tell them the story about the dive that you mentioned, because that's quite intriguing, honestly.
It is. It's very, I like to say it's like a God goosebumpy moment. So I wrote this song after my mom passed away, right after, and then shortly thereafter we moved to Nashville from California. And when we got here, I saw that there was a dive bar here, a wonderful bar, but a dive bar called Betty Lou's. And it's really like a family place where people come together. There's food, there's drinks, there's live music. I said, well, I've got to go to this place because I don't hear that name very often. And my mom's name was Betty Lou. So I have to check this place out. So I go. And we go into this place, and they happen to be having a songwriting contest the evening of me going there. It was pouring rain. So I see this guy coming around with a clipboard, and I say, well, I'd like to do the songwriting contest. He said, okay. But tonight, he said, it's love songs. And so I thought, well, okay. I said, I got up on stage. I said, I'm not sure if this qualifies as a love song, but it's a story about my mom meeting my dad in heaven and how they're dancing. So I'm going to sing it. And by the way, my mom's name was Betty Lou. So I wound up winning the contest that night with that song, made friends with the owners, lots of people in the bar, all talking about this crazy connection of my mom being Betty Lou. So when I recorded it with a beautiful band here in Nashville, and I knew I wanted it to be the first single released on my CD, and I was ready to release it right away. I didn't want to wait, but I knew I had to do a video, and it seemed fitting that we would do the video at this bar, right, called Betty Lou's. Well, the other crazy part is that I knew I wanted to work with a director, my dear friend Ryan Forbes, who lives in Los Angeles. And he's very busy, flying all over the world. But I said, can you find one weekend that you could come to Nashville to film the video? And he said, well, the only weekend I have is September 22nd. And I said, well, I think that'll work because that's my mom's birthday. So we filmed, I know, right? So we filmed the video for Happy Hour in Heaven, a song about my mom and dad on my mom's birthday at Betty Lou's bar.
It's amazing. Really, it's amazing to see all the pieces that fit together.
Yep.
That there's no way you could have planned them out.
No, that was no coincidence. and everyone, you know, kind of agreed there was something else working. That wasn't just a series of, you know, so it was really, yeah, really special, really special.
Randi, how has our current situation with COVID-19 and stuff, how has that affected you, your music, your family?
Right. Right. So we, first of all, feel very blessed that we're healthy. Knock on every, you know, thing. We have been able to stay in our home. Of course, as a musician, I'm not working at all. All of my shows, all of my touring has been canceled. I am still able to do lessons virtually. I'm a music educator, so I direct shows and I do songwriting, voice, and piano lessons. I'm still able to do that. It's, you know, it's very different. This is different, especially teaching an instrument, but that's okay because I still get to see my students and I love that. But yeah, the music shows and gigging, which I was doing, I mean, I was traveling out of state at least once a month, if not twice, and I was doing local shows 2 times a week. So it's really, everything's halted. But it hasn't creatively stopped me. I'm still writing. I'm still, you know, doing co-writes virtually. But it's a strange world, you know, not knowing. It makes me sad because I really think what I love to do, which is pack into a house, you know, and do a house concert, pack into a theater and do a show, pack in anywhere, you know, I don't know that that's going to come back very soon. I think it's going to take some time and I think it's going to look different, and that makes me sad because, you know, for me, music is not just about healing, but it's also about community and connection. So we've done our best to try to make the best of things here, not being able to perform, you know, live. So.
But you also did something very special that a friend of mine told me about. You actually took on a Facebook Live for
I did.
Daily. Please share about that and what was your intention and purpose and all of the things that make you you.
Yeah. So, well, that's a fantastically odd story. So when this all started, I was looking at my calendar and realizing, okay, so I have to cancel all of these shows coming up and my traveling. And I noticed that I wasn't going to be able to perform anywhere and I wasn't going to be able to connect with anyone that I would. And I started to get very nervous about our friends. You know, I've lived everywhere. So I have friends in New York, family on the East Coast, family on the West Coast. And I thought, you know what we should do? We should try to do a Facebook Live show. And I turned to my husband and I said, so we'll do a Facebook Live show. We'll do it every night. And I'm sure it'll last a couple weeks and we'll just connect with people. And every night I'll call someone virtually and we'll check in with them. Maybe they'll like play a song. Maybe, you know, they'll tell about their career, their small business. And then at the same time, we can kind of share information because I feel that our friends in New York are having a very different situation than our friends in Nashville and our friends in Washington. And I felt like information needed to be shared because, you know, the South wasn't having the same experience as the Northeast. And I was nervous about people not sort of knowing what was going on. So we did, we went live at 6 o'clock, first night, second night, started calling musicians, started calling, you know, theater people, started talking to Broadway folks that I know on the East Coast, started talking to my, you know, everything, my scientist friends out on the West Coast, my therapist friends on the West Coast, actors, musicians, indie artists, craftsmen, you know, and then it got to be 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4 weeks and we were still going every single night, and 70 episodes later, never stopping. I finally looked at my husband and I said, I think we have to take a little bit of a break because we were just exhausted. It was wonderful, but trying to produce an hour show with guests and with segments and with recording, and then we would do theme nights and costume nights and we would dress up, we would do game shows, we'd play trivia with the audience, we'd do the 80s episode where we had a friend of mine from an 80s movie, and then we did like the 70s episode with 70s hairdos and it was crazy. And so after 70 episodes, we decided to halt and go one night a week, and so we do that. I always perform one song during the show. It's usually just whatever I'm feeling. Sometimes it's a cover, sometimes it's an original. We do a kids episode occasionally where kids will come on, but it wasn't just for me, it wasn't just about entertainment. it was very much about connection and community. And I would have people log on night after night that said every day, you know, wherever I am, whatever time, you know, zone I'm in, I'm watching because I just need an hour where I'm connecting with people. And I know that I'm going to see you and I'm going to see all the people online and I'm going to hear people sharing. And it, you know, there were days where, and I'm sure you had this too, there were days where I didn't want to get out of bed. Things seemed so dire and so sad. And I just thought, I don't want to get out of bed today. I don't know what the world's going to look like. I don't know what to tell my daughter. And I would think, but I've got to get ready for 6 o'clock. And once I connected with someone like we're doing right now, once I had some type of connection with another person, I just felt so much better. And you could share and you could talk about their struggles. And then, of course, this happened as the protest began. People were marching and we took a short break. You know, we took a short break, and then we came back to honor that and to say, you know, this is also what's happening. We spoke to our guest about what was happening. And so I felt like it was important. And in a way, I think it really saved my spirits, you know. I get choked up thinking about it, actually.
It's beautiful, Randi, because you're saying something so crucial. The connection that we have as people is so important, especially in times when we are separated for whatever reason. Even that little bit of connection and sharing with people what's happening with you, what's happening with them, allows people to feel like we're in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus being separate.
Yes.
I would love for you to give us a piece of a song so that the audience who gets to hear who you are.
That's so sweet. Okay, I'd love to. So I think I will do, I might use my microphone a little bit. I'll do a little bit of, so it's funny, speaking about that, during this whole time, I wrote a song with my hope of what the world will look like when we are out of this. And, you know, I just keep thinking that we'll come out of this stronger, more connected, really, really honoring the things that we love. And so I think I'm going to sing a little bit of this. Maybe I'll just sing one verse and one chorus for you so that you can hear this. But it's called The Year That We Stayed Home. So, and I mean, I wrote this months ago when I didn't think it would even be close to a year. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I think it might be close to a year. So. Let me just see if I can okay, there we go. Remember when we couldn't go outside? And if we did, the space between us felt a mile wide. With our hearts 6 feet apart, we held each other with our eyes. Remember when we couldn't go outside? Remember when together meant alone? We worshipped in our kitchens and our schools were in our homes. Like a window to the soul, we tried to let each other know. We weren't together, but we were never alone. So now we love a little longer, yeah, we kiss a little stronger, treat our neighbors and a stranger as our friends. Yeah, we're all a little kinder, let the earth be a reminder where hope and beauty grow, love has no end. For all we know, we didn't know. We learned so much the year that we stayed home.
Beautiful. And you wrote this when?
So I can tell you. I think I wrote it back in April. Yes, I think in April, yeah. I have 2 drafts of it I added to it. But yeah, it goes on to say things like, you know, happy birthday from our cars, happy hours from our yards. But then, you know, the idea was when it's over, we'll love a little longer, we'll hug a little stronger, we'll kiss, we'll take nothing for granted. And I'm, you know, I think when this began, everyone was so very hopeful, and then things turned a little dark. And it's funny, I'm looking out my window here, and did you hear that? It's very dark. We're now having a storm, so I feel like the earth is like, I'm listening to you. And it got, very hard. And as this went on, I think people started to get very nervous and exhausted. But what I'm trying to say is that I still think, if you remember right back to the beginning of this, where people were posting about, flowers growing and the air clearing up and really looking at things like we will come out of this stronger. I feel like right now I really want to remind people that I do believe on the other side of this we'll come out stronger. It's hard right now. It's hard. But I think on the other side of this, we're going to be okay. I know we are. We have to.
Are you doing anything to keep yourself afloat in your mindset?
I'm doing a lot of Zooming with people. Things like this are wonderful. They're a wonderful connection. Spending a lot of time with my daughter, that it's hard. Obviously, she's an only child, so we don't see, kids like she'd like to. Occasionally something outdoors that's safe. For me, yoga, I try to be morning walks every morning, and I either try to connect with someone on a phone or listen to a podcast. But so those sort of things, and cooking a lot, doing a lot of my grandmother's recipes. All of those things are sort of self-care. And then writing and focusing on these live shows that we do, which is really, at first it was like, okay, I'm going to call my friends and I'm going to have them sort of come on the show and talk, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the world, and I want to hear their stories. And then it was like, began realizing that people had so much important information that they could pass on to other people. And I just thought we just have to keep this, going, where we just make these connections. It's really important. So that's what I'm doing.
Would you say there's a gift or gratitude from this period of time that we're going through?
Oh, there are so many. Yes, seeing the love that people have for others, caring for our neighbors, worrying about the people around you, making sure people are okay, reaching out, making this sort of connection. For me, the silver lining is definitely, for sure, the lives that I've been doing, the Facebook lives that I've been doing, and reconnecting with people I haven't seen in years and years, and then saying, come on my little live show and let's talk about your life and share your experience, creatively, the artists, right? Look at what we're doing now. We're doing a Zoom podcast and Zoom virtual shows, and we're, this really finding that people are strong and they rise above. The beauty of the first responders, the beauty of the people that are risking their lives for us, and I know that people could flip this. I had this discussion with someone just the other day, and they'd say, but there are also people that aren't, acting that way. But in my heart, I believe there are more people that are, or at least I'm really looking for that right now, like this, like meeting you through Patrick's wonderful, event. That's something that may not have happened, we may not have connected on that level, and I treasure all of these new connections. So those are definitely silver linings, definitely.
I'm with you. That is one of the better things of this entire period, is for us to be better connected, see each other at a level that we're all humans.
Yes.
And reach out and find out how we are all doing, instead of everybody running on our hamster wheels.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it, right? Now you really take a moment and check in with everyone, and maybe instead of a text, you'll do a FaceTime call, or maybe you'll pick up the phone, or maybe you'll think about taking a moment and connecting with that person. I do think, and I hope that we stay that way. I hope that we do, and I think that we will. I don't think it'll go back. I think this will be, newer, I hope.
Randi, you do a lot of events and pieces that involve charities. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you grew up with, or is that just a heart tug for you? What makes you go in those directions, honestly?
It's I've thought about that a lot in the past few years, especially. I was raised in a very progressive church community in Maplewood, New Jersey, where I grew up, and I was part of a a Methodist church that I didn't know at the time, but was really just a completely inclusive and loving community. And at a really young age, we did all of these faith through works. That was kind of the mission. So the youth group was always doing faith through works. And I didn't know it at the time, but I'm convinced now that I sort of look back at my journey that had so much to do with how I decided that if faith couldn't just be talk, it had to be action. So for me, I almost never say no to any opportunity to lend a song or lend my voice. As a musician, I think we're in a very unique position where even at times in my life where I've not been able to financially support something that I've believed in or put money behind it, you know, you can put your music behind it, you can put your words, you can put your heart behind it. And I feel like I've always said that musicians have this uncanny ability of sort of going through the back door. So some people might not listen to you if you're talking at them, but somehow if you're singing through them, you know, they sort of might respond. So there's a lot of opportunities as an artist for us to lend time and talents to charity. It's super important to me. It's very important to me. And I have to say it's been a blessing too, because a lot of the charities that I've connected with, some that I've been working with for, 15 years, I can honestly say that I've learned so much more by watching then what these organizations do, how hard they struggle to keep afloat, what they give, right? And especially in a time like this, I really feel like it's twofold. So I might lend some songs to a concert or maybe raise some funds through a musical event, but then watching the work of others and seeing the ripples effect of what all of these people are doing, it just makes me want to bring it home to my community to say, then what can we do? How can we be of service? I think I could talk about 5 hours, about that, but I think service is one of the most important things that we as humans can do. So
what is one of your better qualities? I could name one from just knowing your short period, that you take action. You take action. You don't wait for something to happen. You take action. What are some of your qualities that you say, that's what helps me move along?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I've learned, I think, geez, this is a funny question for me. I think I have been pretty good at learning to find the hope in a situation. That might sound so odd, but I think that has helped me get through. It's faith for me, but it's also looking at something and trying to see, like you said, you just said the word, the silver lining in something, right? Which, listen, we can all kid ourselves. It's not every day like a bowl of cherries and roses but I think that's been something that I've learned to try to do, right, is flip things upside down so that you see the hope in it, and the humor too. I really do try to lead with that. And I'm very lucky that at a very, fairly young age, I surrounded myself with like-minded and wonderful people, and I kept them in my tribe. So that I have a beautiful community of friends and family that support me and that lift me up. And so I've never said this before. This is like blowing my mind, because I don't think I've ever had that question for all the interviews I've ever done. No one has ever flipped it and said, what's one of your better qualities? Because it's certainly not, that I talk too much, because I do talk too much, as you're witnessing. But I totally think that I have been really good at picking a tribe that loves and supports me. So that makes me stronger. And I feel blessed for that.
That's awesome. You said some gems. I hope the listeners are picking up some of the gems that you've been saying. What is something that you're working on for yourself to go, I need to be better at this? Could be a skill, or it could be something personal.
Wow, these are great questions. And I interview people every night, and I'm like, they're going to remember these. This is something that I'm working on. I think years ago I got pretty good at listening to my gut. I have to honor it more. I have to really honor it more. And I'm trying to get to a point where it's just not even a second thought. I just honor my gut. But that's one of the things that I'd go back and tell myself much younger, right? Mm. And then other things. Well, certainly technical things that we're always working on. It's funny, I interview musicians and they talk about that too now. It's like I have to be proud of myself for what I am capable of doing, but I'm also like challenging myself to learn new software, new recording software, like kind of dive into the areas that before maybe I didn't think I would ever have to, because I could always just go over there and do A or B or go over there. And now it's sort of like, oh no, we have to figure out how to do this ourselves, you know? So those are some of the things that I'm working on. And then of course, time management is always something, you know, using it. And it's such a strange thing. I was talking to my best friend the other day, and we were saying that for a planner like me, where I always have my calendar open and I know where I'm flying, I'm gone for 5 days, then I'm home, and then I have, you know, this time with my daughter and this time with, and then I'm gone again. And to not have that is crazy strange for me. So I'm trying to, what is the expression? Like, I'm trying to be okay with living in the moment and not, it's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard because but what am I doing next month? But why don't I have, and my calendar is like zip. And I'm thinking, okay, I have to get better at that. I have to get better at just being okay with today and not freaking out if we don't know what the next, you know, chapter is going to look like. That's new to me.
That's awesome. I wanted people to actually hear from someone who has been super successful and has full-time running around the world, has a family, and now is going through things just like everyone else. We're all going through this together.
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of the comforting thing, is that we're all sort of in this. And so we're all learning how to navigate this whole new world of whatever it is. And so I do find some comfort in that, you know, I do find, and like I said, because I can wake up every day with, you know, 4 walls and say that I'm healthy, I know that I have to really not just say it, but like honor that, you know, that some people are not so fortunate. And so it's okay if right now I don't have a plan for the next 2 months and I don't know what's going to happen. There are other things that are more important right now, and I have to really live in that. And so I'm trying.
You're doing a great job from my perspective.
I hope so. We'll see. Talk to me in 3 months. We'll see, right?
I want you to share with the listeners and the audience the Shepard song.
Yes.
How you went about it, how you actually created it, and the process, because that was quite very intriguing, the action that you took.
Oh, yeah.
Because lots of people are seeing and hearing things, and
right.
They go, I don't know what to do.
So it was 1998 that Matthew Shepard was killed. He was a very young man at the time. And the story was all over the news. And this was probably right when he had passed, because I was in New Jersey. And I think what was so sad about it was that he survived for several days. And then when he finally passed, his parents, Judy and Dennis, came out, and they made a very brief statement, just basically saying, you know, go home and hug your children. That was their prepared statement that I think someone else delivered. And it really struck me. And I thought, this is horrible. And, you know, it was not, I often say it wasn't the first time that I'd heard of horrific hate like that. And it wasn't the last, but something about that moment, I thought, I have to do something. And I honestly, I will never know if it was an intention or something that came to me, or that if it was, you know, something spiritual, but I thought, I'm going to go write something about this. And it's one of the only times in my life that I went in to write a song, and the song was finished, like, I think less than 45 minutes later. It was very quick. I just ran to my keyboard. I wrote it. The original version of the song was faster. I slowed it down over the, you know, next few weeks, but it was done. And, I thought, you know, I'm going to send this. So I actually did. I recorded it on a cassette tape, and I sent it to Judy Shepard with a letter, just like a sympathy card. It was really a sympathy card. And I said, I wrote this song, and I never expected to hear back. And then a few weeks later, I was performing in San Diego. And for some reason, I could not get this song out of my head. So I didn't think I remembered it. I didn't have the words or anything written out, but I said, you know what, I'm going to change up my set tonight. I'm going to write this song. And the response to the song was such that I realized people were very done with hate. You know, again, this song was about love, and this song was about life, but people knew that it came from something horrific that happened. And with that, a woman came up to me and she said, I'd like to give you some recording time to record the song. And I thought very long and hard about it, and I wasn't going to. But I thought, again, with our discussion about faith through works, I thought, well, if we could record it and have the money go to the Matthew Shepard Foundation, I'm sure they could use it for some good. So we did. We recorded this little single, and we did it very quickly, had a little release at a coffee house in San Diego. And then that song went on to sell, I mean, well over, I think, like 20, it raised, I think, at when we stopped counting, it raised somewhere over like $40,000 for the foundation, from the song and from the performances of it and the choral music. And it became, you know, sort of the song that was associated with the foundation. And for me, it was just part of this journey of seeing people trying to take a watershed, terrible moment and flip it and do the right thing and make sure that this never happened again. It's funny now, too, so many years later, to talk about it, because at the time I didn't know Judy and Dennis's parents, and I didn't know Logan, his brother, and now they're like family to me. We're very close and we have this wonderful relationship. And so everything that I sort of thought about them at the time, you know, I had this idea that they were these people and that this was a horrific, I wasn't a mother when I wrote it, right? But I knew that the death of a child had to be something that no person should live through it. And now knowing them, I know that there had to be some divine intervention in this song, because my words and the lyrics are very true of their family. They're loving, wonderful people that took something tragic and made it really, really powerful. They've done incredible change, and they don't stop. You know, it's years and years later, and they don't stop. And I don't think they'll ever stop. So that's how that story came to be. And it just really, I don't know that that'll ever happen again in my world with a song like that.
What I wanted the audience to really hear is that you felt something. You felt the need to do something, and you actually took the time and did it. That's where we are in today's world with everything that's happening. There's so many people that think, oh, I can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as telling someone that they love them. It could be as simple as letting people know that they're concerned about them. Those kind of things, taking the actions, because your career has built on you taking action. Even your damn jingle ball. Right. You gotta tell people about that. You have to.
That's like the best segue I've ever heard. That is so, and you're so spot on. Yes, you know, it's funny. I think you may be onto something here. I do kind of, you know, journey forward, and I always kind of think that I could do more, but I do. I always sort of journey forward. So when I was in my first band in San Diego, there was a radio station that put on a Jingle Ball, and it was a huge concert, and it was like very, very popular. And if you're listening from San Diego, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I got asked, as a young performer, I got asked to be on the show, and it's a huge deal. So I spent all this money on advertising, and I flyered, and I told everyone to come. And shortly before the actual show, this Christmas show, they pulled me. They canceled me. And they said, we got a bigger, better, more, you know, famous act, so you're off. And I was crushed. I just thought, that's hard, you know, really. You're looking. Okay, so the next year came, and I think they said, I try really hard to remember, but I think what it was they were doing like an acoustic stage, or they were having like also acoustic artists. Okay, so here it is. You can be, this one for sure you can be on, and it's going to be great because, okay, will you do it? Of course I'll do it, because again, this is a big concert, a big deal. That year, they canceled me again. For a second time, right? So I thought, you know, this is awful, and I was really looking forward to playing the Jingle Ball. So I called a little coffee house in town that you probably couldn't get more than 115 people in. But I said on the same night, can I do a Christmas show? I know it's the big Christmas show in town, thousands, but I'd like to do my own. Invited a few local singer-songwriters to join me, and I called it Randy's Damn Jingle Ball. And it wound up being such an amazing night of music. The place was packed, inside, outside. People couldn't get in. We had a great time, you know, everyone singing and having just a laugh at sort of, you know, what had happened. And then the next year, everyone said, you're going to do Randy's Damn Jingle Ball again. And so here we are, like 16, I think, years later. We've been doing it every year. It's growing. It's bigger. We have like 10 or 12 different bands. We have vendors. And it's like, it's the most joyful show. And it's certainly not the size. And by the way, I always like to add, that radio station isn't even doing their concert anymore. So you know, we made our own. But for me, it wasn't about trying to, you know, in an angry way or malicious way go at it, because let's be honest, I couldn't compete with thousands of people down at the sports arena. I knew that. I knew it wasn't going to be like But I also knew it was going to be a place for me to sing, which is really all I wanted to do. I just wanted to do a joyful holiday show. And it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite show of the year. I get to do a blend of holiday music. We do originals. I get to bring in all these artists. People fly in for it. And it's so much fun that I just feel like it was meant to be, right? Randy's damn Jingle Ball.
I love hearing that story. You taking charge and creating something that's full of joy for you and for others.
Yeah.
Randi, is there anything, as you look into the next few years, is there something that you really would like to work on that you go, this would be ideal for me, music-wise or anything, career-wise, family even?
I just can want to, honestly, I try to be open, to whatever is going to happen with me. Doesn't mean I don't have goals, right? I think goals are important, but for me, I want to continue writing music, making music. I want my music to be heard by other people. I'd like it to be to where I can share. It's harder and harder nowadays to share music, certainly harder for artists there's lots of ways to get it out there, but there's so many ways to get it out there now that it's even in some strange ways harder, right? So I would just like to continue to make quality music and have people listen to it, and then to continue to help, be healthy enough to travel around and share and do these concerts. It's funny, if you had asked me a year ago, I might have had a very different goal, but now it's just really getting back to where I was before this, like connecting with people through live music again. I love performing in New York City. I was born and raised in Jersey. And so what I really love to do down the road is develop a New York show that I could do sort of a residency. And I try to manifest and put that out there. And I know that right now that's not something that is possible, but when this opens up, that's one of my goals that I want to work on, is having a show that I can bring into theaters. Because I feel, for me, what I do, there's nothing like having a grand piano, some other instrumentalists on stage, and doing it in an intimate theater setting where I can talk to people and share my stories and sing. And so a residency in New York and then being able to tour with that in a theater setting is really what I'd like to create, and what I'm in the process of trying to develop. And I know it'll happen. It's just everyone right now, especially my dear New York friends, is on like a halt. So just keep working towards it, and knowing that my friends say, it's just a pause button and eventually you're going to hit the unpause. So we'll see.
Nothing lasts forever.
Right.
Is there anything that the audience could support, love on you that would be ideal for you right now? Because I know as an artist, it's very hard with no shows, nothing that's happening. What can listeners do? What would be great for you?
Well, my music is out there. There's lots of ways to, in a time where you can get free music, just a click away. Independent artists especially will tell you that if you can ever buy a CD from an artist, even buy a song from an artist, support them with merchandise, things like that, that's really helpful. And I think right now people are trying to do that. When I go to shop for something, I'm trying to go to my friends that make jewelry, my friends that make art. I'm thinking really very seriously about trying to support people during this time. So for me, it's just, if you like my music, subscribing to my YouTube channel, maybe if you feel like it, sharing my music with other people. You're always welcome to buy one of my CDs on my website, which is just randidriscoll.com. And then just really, continuing to sort of follow what I do. Tune into the live show if you want on Facebook, Friday nights at 6:00. We have great guests. We always highlight a charity. We highlight small businesses. It's a beautiful 45 minutes of being connected with other people. And then we always put them on YouTube after the fact if people can't watch it. So,
is it on your own Facebook page?
It is. So it's on Randi Driscoll music page. It's on my personal page, and it's 6 p.m. Central time, because we're in Nashville, Tennessee. So for California, that's 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock on the East Coast. So yeah, Friday nights.
So everything is found under your name. Anyone that needs to
Randi with an I, yes, Randi with an I. And I just, again, this happens all the time, but I just had someone email me the other day and said, I've seen your name for years, and I never knew you were so happy that I found your music. So that's what you get with Randi. Even with the eye, people are.
I said that even to you
No,
when
that's
Patrick
right,
was
that's so
telling
funny.
us
Yes,
about the damn Jingle Ball. I just assumed it's a
Oh,
man.
that, you know, even people that I have performed with, musicians that I have shared the stage with, don't know that I am going to be a woman until I walk out on stage. This is true. I just had someone purchase my music the other day, and they said the same thing to me. They said, I finally heard your music, and I thought you were a man this whole time. It's so funny. So I'm pretty used to that. So I like to say it's Randi with an I, and just tell your friends that she's a female singer-songwriter. I identify as a female singer-songwriter. So there you go.
I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay, sure.
Would you like your daughter to follow in your footsteps in the music industry?
Oh, I would love her to have music in her life. I can say that. I'm not sure. It's a hard world. It's really about creating your own destiny. Being a musician is all about creating your own world, and having it look like whatever you want to. And certainly trials and tribulations, just like with a lot of things, being an artist is a whole other beast. So she's incredibly artistic. She's incredibly musical. So it's very possible that she might. But for her, I really feel like as long as she has music in her life, I've seen it make her joyful. I feel like it's a healing tool for people. I feel like it's good to have music and art in your world. So I'll be happy as long as she has music as an outlet and as a way to kind of like lift her up. And if she does follow in it, I will support her 120%, you know?
Wonderful. And Randi, is there anything that you'd like to share with people that I might not have asked, that we get off and you go, I wish Rima had asked this? Is there anything that you want to share?
You're so sweet, but you covered it all. This is one of the better interviews I've ever had. I mean, honestly, you covered it all. No, you know, I told you sort of where to find my music, and I'm just kind of moving through this world that we're living in, and I hope that everyone else is safe and taking care of themselves. You know, that's super important, and I don't ever believe we can say that enough. You know, be kind to yourselves and take care of one another, which means doing all the important things to make sure that everyone's safe. And that's about it. I think the rest is good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Randi. I am so grateful for you joining me, for being present, and for everything that you shared. I am very grateful.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to you listeners, please remember, our attitude determines our altitude in life. So if you want life to become better, to change for you, start with your attitude of how you look at things and how you conduct yourself. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you and hearing us on the next episode. Have a great one.